Hey, it's Ron Bass with another edition of the Ron Bass Show, your source for inspiration, encouragement, motivation, inspiration.
That's a lot of things.
Humor.
It's a lot of things.
Mr. Dry Humor himself.
Hey, happy Wednesday.
Oh, God.
Why do they
come
spell
up with
it?
These spellings?
It's Wednesday, but why is it spelled Wednesday?
It's the weirdest ever. W-E-D-N-E-S-D. You know what? I've always had trouble spelling that.
You just did it.
I have trouble spelling a lot of things. I have trouble reading my writing.
Well, I believe that.
Somebody said I should have been a doctor. Right?
Yes.
I can't read my writing. But I said I don't have enough patience. That's an old joke.
Hey, you forgot your mic.
Oh, my mic.
They're barely hearing you right now.
Where is Mike, by the way?
Mike is not here.
I haven't seen Mike in a while. The guy used to work for me all the time, but
We got to get you plugged in.
Got to get me plugged in. Okay.
There. Now they can hear you.
Now they can hear me. Well, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I don't know.
Might not be a good thing.
Depends on what you have to say.
Well, I always have a lot to say.
I know that.
I make a lot of people mad. Last night I'm talking to my coaches. I think I made them mad.
Oh.
Yeah, because at the end of the evening we were hanging out together talking. All the students had left. It was late, 10 o'clock, 10:30. And they got to talking about this and that and kind of complaining about life, and I don't feel good, and I want to get better, and I want to be a world champion. I said, look, man, becoming a world champion is not easy. And if you're not doing all the normal right things, you got zero chance. Let alone if you do everything right, you got a better chance. You got to remember that you're going to be competing against people that are doing everything you're doing and a whole lot more. They want it worse than you want it. And I wasn't being negative. I was just analyzing because they like to smoke pot, they like to vape, and it's like, I don't care how good your genetics are. You're hurting yourself. You're hurting your endurance. You're hurting your cardio. You can be a big fish in a little pond in a small gym and beat everybody up, but when you go to an international tournament like I go to every couple times a year, it's a whole other world, man. I mean, you got guys that are like incredibly fit. That's all they do. I met a guy the other day that did a triathlon. He came into my gym, young guy, and I'm watching him spar with one of my students, and he wasn't winded at all. And I said, like, what's up? And he goes, oh, I just did a triathlon yesterday. I said, a triathlon? What is that? They run 6.5 miles, they bike 25 miles, and they swim a mile. It takes 3 hours.
Yesterday.
Yeah, this was like the day before we came into our gym to spar with one of my students. So that's the kind of guy you're going to be competing against in a world championship scenario. And if you're not going to the gym and working out every day, and you're not eating right and resting right and following all those rules, I don't care how great you are in the small gym, it's not going to be pretty when you go to those competitions. And I wasn't trying to be negative. I was just explaining, myself in a way that I hope that maybe they would, they're going to get mad for a minute, but maybe they think it through, and then the next day they might say, you're probably right. That's my hope anyway.
Well, and they need to go to these international competitions to see what the competition
and they've never
level
done that.
is compared to the local.
Yes, and they've never done that. So I get a little irritated sometimes when people are like, oh, this, and I'm going to do that, and this and that, and I'm thinking, look, man, I've done what you're talking about doing, and I know how friggin' difficult it is. But forget about the winning and the losing. Just the experience is wonderful. You can't always think in terms of winning and losing. A lot of life is about education and experiencing things and enjoying your life by going through these processes. One of my students' wife, great gal, she's a nurse. We had a really long talk last night in between training, and I just love talking to her because she's so intelligent. Very successful person. But we were visiting about our lifestyles, and it turned out we're both kind of on the same page. She's very independent. I'm very independent. I don't like, having a mate that's codependent and just, suffocating me. She's the same way. But her husband is like super codependent. Like he just has to be around her all the time. And it drives her up a tree, right? Wonder where that came from, drive you up a tree.
I don't know. I guess someone I don't know. Chase
Maybe like
a cat.
get away, chase a cat. That's it. Speaking of a cat, my student, her husband's a fireman, and he told us that he actually has done that. Got up in the tree and rescued cats before.
Wow.
That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
So last night he went on a call and he said that he's also an EMT guy. He does ambulance, rides an ambulance. So he has two jobs. He's a fireman and he also does emergency. What do they call it? EMT, emergency medical transportation, emergency medical team, whatever it is. Anyway, he's on an ambulance.
Yeah.
And he went to this whatever
EMT.
it was, and this guy was drunk, and he wanted to fight him, and he had to fight him. He had to fight him. Yeah, he had to knock him out because the guy was like belligerent, trying to get in his face and trying to hit him. But he was so excited because he was using a lot of his training and that he'd learned here in our gym, for self-defense. I thought that was a cool story. So we were talking about the fireman's carry. That's a wrestling move, but really I guess it's the way that the firemen like to carry people out of a house. Mm-hmm. But he told me he doesn't do that because when you put them over your shoulder and you carry people, he said they're too high up and they smoke. So he likes to he drags them like he'll take them by their hands, and he showed me he would just literally pull them up to his chest and drag them. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. They say stay low when there's smoke.
Stay low.
Stay low.
Man, I had a friend of mine years ago that died in a fire. I had two friends that died in fires. That's crazy. One of them, I think, was started with a cigarette. The other one, I don't know. He was a brilliant artist. This guy could paint. Like I would see him all around Springfield, Missouri, where we're from. He'd be in the park. He only had one hand that worked, and he had this tremendous talent. He set up an easel and he would paint. In fact, I bought some paintings from him. I still have them in my home. But one day, I saw him at Walmart, and he said, "Hey, how's it going, man?" And I saw him carrying out a bottle of liquor. I think he had a drinking problem. And sure enough, that night, he died in a house fire.
Wow.
I don't know if it was smoking. I kind of guess maybe it was. Another reason not to smoke, guys. People get drunk, they fall asleep. Guess what happens? Terrible to say, but it's another example of why you don't want to smoke cigarettes. Then people will say, "Well, let's vape." Listen. Vaping's just as bad for your lungs as smoking cigarettes. Nicotine in your lung, all that, whatever else is going in there is not healthy. And when you're young, you don't think about it. That's the problem. Like my coaches last night, they're young, and it's like, they don't get it. I said, when you guys are old, you're going to regret all of this behavior. You just are. If you're not in the gym every day working out for an hour, I said, you're just making a huge mistake. Because it'll solve a lot of problems, psychological problems, physical problems, attitude problems, sleeping problems. Man, when you work out a lot, you go to bed, you're going to go to bed. You're tired. Your body is like going to force you to sleep. I'm not a Jack LaLanne. That guy was like, he did crazy physical fitness stuff back in the day. But I am a proponent of exercise, obviously, because I do it every day. And I would never preach about things that I didn't do. So I talked to Brett about that a lot. I said, when we do these podcasts, I like to speak from my own experiences. I don't like to just, hey, here's something I read in this book. And I mean, I will talk about things I've read and I've studied, but a lot of what I talk about in terms of motivation and encouragement comes from my own experiences. What worked, what didn't work, what more is likely to work and not likely to work. Nothing perfect. I may tell you to do something or ask you to do something or encourage you to do something and it doesn't work. Not perfect. But I guarantee if you're consistent with all the things that we talk about, consistent day after day, year after year, you're going to see gain. You're going to see something happen in your life that's super positive. You're going to be more progressive. You're just going to be a happier person, man. You're going to enjoy your life. I was telling my nurse friend last night, look, according to the actuarial tables, I've got, based on my age, I'll probably be dead in 5 years. And she was like, "Oh, come on, you live longer." I said, "Well, maybe, but, you might not wake up in the morning." So the actuarial tables really aren't set in stone either. I mean, so we don't know. But the key is if you play the odds, the idea that I'm trying to suggest to her is that, look, you have to enjoy your life every day. If you work out every day, you're going to feel a lot better, and you're going to enjoy every day a whole lot better right to the end. You're not going to be sick every day. You're not going to be, "Oh, I wished I would have did this and did that, but I can't because I can't walk and I can't this and I can't that." No. if you work out every day, guys, I promise you, your life's going to be, oh man, a gazillion% better in all aspects. Not just like, hey, I'm a big, strong bodybuilder guy, I'm a big world champion. That's all cool, but that's nothing compared to feeling good every day, waking up in the morning and having the energy to, and the positiveness to go out and set the world on fire. That's worth, man, that's gold. That's gold. That's powerful stuff, man. Now, is exercise the only thing that's going to get you there? It's a big part of it. It just is. It just is. It just is. Okay. So much for those topics. Oh, I want to talk about the bonsai tree.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I remember reading about this years ago or hearing about it in a speech. It's a tree that you plant. It's a little bitty tree. And they say you water it and water it and water it, and nothing happens. You water it, water it, water it, and you get frustrated because it just doesn't grow. And like this goes on for like a couple of years, and a lot of people just give up on it. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it starts to grow, and then grow, and then grow, and then grow, and then it just goes crazy. So the moral of the story is, that's the way a lot of success stories are. You work your butt off, 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 and nothing's happening. And you're going in the hole, you're going in the hole, you're going in the hole, you're frustrated, you're discouraged, it's not going to happen, you don't know what to do, you're just ready to throw the towel in, and then all of a sudden, you get a phone call. Something comes in the mail. Something turns around. Something starts happening. All of a sudden there's some momentum in whatever your goal is, and next thing you know, you're starting to feel better about this, and something's beginning to happen over here, and suddenly you realize, man, I'm making progress, and the next thing you know, it just keeps getting better and better and better and better and better and better. That's a fairly typical example of success stories. Most people do not set a goal and just magically overnight accomplish it. Sorry, it just ain't going to be that way. So the bonsai tree example, I think, is one of the coolest ever examples. I don't know physically why that's the case with the tree like that, and maybe there's other trees that are like that, but look it up sometime. I think it's called bonsai.
So do you keep watering it? I mean,
Yes.
Is the other part of the story there too much water makes it not grow?
No.
Okay. So you just got to keep
You
watering.
got to keep watering.
And have patience.
And have patience.
Okay.
Because if you don't have patience, you're not going to have a practice.
That's right.
Speaking of doctors, I was reading on my Medicare summary yesterday, or last night. I get it once a month, because you get old, you got to go to all these doctors, and they make you go here, and this specialist, and that specialist. So my kidney doctor, $345 was the visit for 22 minutes. They listed down by the minute. I did the math on that. It's like $5,000 a day if you do 2 an hour. That's 16 times 300 would be, it's about $5,000 a day. In theory, that's 25. That's $1 million a year. That doesn't count, like, when they do like blood tests, or they do biopsies, or they do surgery. I mean, that's just like visits. Wow. Now, he doesn't keep all that money. He works for a hospital, but if he had a private practice, he might have I don't know how that exactly, maybe he does have a private practice. But regardless.
So if you went in and said, man, I got an appointment, I got about 10 minutes, and you're doing that, so you get charged half of that.
I don't know if that's the case, but the moral of the story is, we're in the wrong business. We need to be in the doctor business. I remember years ago when I was probably 40, 45, I would go to a clinic in Carthage, Missouri. This is when I was pill shopping. This is when I was screwed up on hydrocodones and had an addiction, right? And they would charge me like, I don't know, $35 or $40 for a visit. Write me a prescription. Now think about that. That was 30 years ago. And $35 or $40 versus $300. That's almost 10 times. Now, maybe he's a specialist versus like a general practitioner, but still, you get the idea how much medical has gone up and up and up and up and up and up.
So
that's
is
crazy.
Everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, breaking news.
Well, so if you loved something so much, would you get a tattoo of it?
No.
Okay. I think it's a matter of personal preference.
Okay.
But a Swiss woman loves Red Bull, the drink Red Bull.
Fair enough, yeah.
So much that she actually got a barcode tattoo on her arm, and they said it even scans at grocery checkout.
Oh my gosh.
So it works.
That's crazy.
And so I just thought, people she got 7.9 million views on TikTok.
Well, it's a little
by
extreme,
talking about this experience.
But whatever, I guess.
Maybe it was part of her business model of trying to get people to see her online. I don't
Red
know.
Bull gave her a free case of Red Bull.
But someone actually said, what if she's walking through any grocery store and she gets close to a barcode, it's going to ring up a Red Bull.
That's crazy.
Every time.
That's funny.
Until Red Bull changes the barcode, then it won't even work.
Then it won't work. Whatever floats her boat.
Okay.
To each their own.
Okay. And today is, you're going to like this?
Yeah.
National Hamburger Day.
Ooh, we like hamburgers.
It's also National Flip Flop Day.
God.
And then for the grand finale, it's National Senior Health and Fitness Day.
Ooh, now we're talking. Ding, 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 ding.
Well, but nobody likes to be called a senior, do they?
Listen, I'm getting used to it now. But
right.
I did tell my nurse last night, my friend who's a nurse, I said, the weirdest feeling in the world, and I say this sincerely, is being old and not feeling old. It is such a weird feeling. But that's the way it is, man.
And are you old? I
Yes.
mean, when is old?
Chronologically, you're
When
old
is old?
after you're, I think, 62.
That's considered old?
Yeah, and elderly is you're considered elderly when you're like 70, I think, 5.
So what about like 90?
Well, now you're like,
Dust?
you're ancient.
Ancient?
Yeah, ancient.
Ancient.
If you can live that long.
Hey, I was reading where there's a ton of people in Japan that are over the age of 100. A ton.
It's cool, but here's the problem. It's almost like oh wow, oh, he lived to be 100. Oh, that's cool. He lived. It's almost like they're what's the right word? I can't think of the damn word. That's another. When you get old, you can't think of words. Did that this morning. I had a couple of names I couldn't remember. Then finally I remembered the words. It's like people think it's cool. But
quality of life, I guess.
But the reality is you
exercise,
can't worry about the finite. You have to be interested in everyday quality of life.
Yeah.
So even if you're old or you're young, it doesn't matter. The goal is the same goal. You have to enjoy every single day.
Yeah.
And to get there, you have to do certain things. And we talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
At any rate. Well.
Great.
That's a pretty deep subject for a shallow mind.
Yes, it is.
I guess we'll get out of here. We probably bored everybody. Made everybody mad talking about this. Well, because I get a little bit too haughty sometimes, or too intense sometimes. But
too intense.
It's just my nature, to want to encourage people to do the right things, and because I know they'll benefit. I know that they will benefit so much if they just do some of the stuff that we talk about, right?
Yeah.
I just can't tell you how great it feels to do the things that I do and how much it helps me to enjoy my life. There's just no comparison, man. The thing about drugs and alcohol or gambling or pornography, all those things, it's a short-term high. But when you wake up, man, the next day or wake up an hour later, it's like you're back to that. Now you're depressed and you're like this all the time.
Yeah.
Instead of like this every day if you follow the rules.
Yeah.
And it's just you're always in a. Now you're going to have some ups and downs, but nothing like that.
Yeah.
Plus, you're not a slave to those habits. That's another big problem with addiction. You become a slave to these habits. All right, guys, look. Just remember, if you don't give up, which you better not, eventually those stars are going to line up. And when that happens, you're going to be so much happier that you paid the price, that you stayed the course and didn't give up. So once that happens, and even before that happens, and even after that happens, just remember the main thing is to always keep your head up and stay positive.